For years that turned into decades, and decades that turned into centuries, Prophet Nuh AS stood before his people with the same message, calling them toward the worship of Allah and away from false beliefs. He spoke with patience, compassion, and sincerity, wanting nothing for himself except their success in this life and the next. Yet, no matter how clearly he explained the truth, most people refused to listen. Instead of accepting guidance, many chose to mock him. They laughed at his warnings, ignored his advice, and treated his message as something unimportant. With every passing generation, the rejection continued, and the number of believers remained small. For any ordinary person, such constant opposition would have been enough to quit, but Nuh AS continued his mission with remarkable patience and determination. What makes this story so powerful is not only the message he delivered, but the reaction of the people around him. Why would a nation reject guidance for so long, despite repeated warnings and sincere advice? This question lies at the heart of the story and reveals a deeper truth about human nature, pride, denial, and the difficulty of accepting change even when the truth stands directly in front of us. After years of warning his people and witnessing their continued rejection, Nuh AS receives a command unlike anything anyone could have expected. Allah instructs him to build a massive ark, a huge vessel designed to survive a disaster that has not yet appeared. The command seems impossible to understand because there is no sea nearby, no sign of danger, and no visible reason for such a project to exist. As construction begins, the people gather around in disbelief. They laugh, mock, and question his actions. To them, the sight of a prophet building an enormous ark on dry land appears ridiculous. Every day brings new insults and new criticism, yet Nuh AS never stops. He continues working with complete trust, knowing that divine wisdom does not depend on human understanding. This moment becomes one of the greatest tests of faith in the entire story. Nuh AS is preparing for something he cannot yet see, while everyone around him believes he has failed. The ark is more than a structure of wood and labor. It is a symbol of trust in Allah during uncertainty, and a reminder that unseen events are often already being prepared for long before people recognize the signs. As the construction of the ark continues day after day, the curiosity of the people begins to grow. What first seemed like a strange project now becomes the center of attention for the entire community. Groups gather to watch Nuh AS and the believers working tirelessly on the massive vessel. Questions spread from one person to another, yet most people still choose mockery instead of reflection. Despite the ridicule, Nuh AS remains focused on the task he has been given. He does not argue endlessly with those who insult him, and he does not abandon the mission because of public pressure. His patience becomes a powerful example of faith under criticism. While others only see wood and labor, he sees a purpose connected to a future that has not yet arrived. As the ark nears completion, an unusual feeling begins to spread. The laughter is still there, but so is uncertainty. Some people start wondering whether there is more to this story than they first believed. The atmosphere slowly changes, and small signs begin to appear that something extraordinary may be approaching. What once looked impossible is about to become a reality no one can ignore. As the ark stands nearly complete, Nuh AS delivers one final warning to his people. For centuries, he has called them toward truth with patience and sincerity, but now the time for decision is running out. His message remains the same, yet the urgency behind it has never been greater. He urges them to turn back before it is too late, and reminds them that mercy is still available for those who choose guidance. Instead of accepting the warning, many people become even more determined in their rejection. Disbelief reaches its highest point, and the community begins to divide. Some choose faith and stand beside Nuh AS, while others remain loyal to old beliefs and pride. Families are separated by their choices, creating emotional moments where truth and personal relationships come into direct conflict. At the same time, signs of an approaching event begin to appear. The atmosphere feels different, and a sense of tension spreads through the land. What once seemed impossible now feels closer than ever. The people still have a choice, but the window is rapidly closing, and the consequences of their decisions are about to become visible in a way no one expected. It begins without warning, as if the entire world has suddenly changed its order. From the earth itself, water starts erupting in places where it was never expected. At the same time, the sky opens with relentless rain, as if the heavens are responding to a command beyond human control. What was once familiar ground quickly turns into a scene of overwhelming chaos. Panic spreads among the people as reality sets in. Those who believed in Nuh as rush toward the ark, while others remain in denial until it is too late. Fear replaces arrogance in many hearts, but the time for choice is already closing. The ark becomes the only visible point of safety in a world that is rapidly turning into a flood. As the waters rise higher, survival and destruction stand face to face. The believers enter the ark with hope and fear combined, while others are left behind in confusion and disbelief. The tension reaches its peak as the separation between truth and rejection becomes final, and what follows next will decide who survives this overwhelming event and who does not. The ark now moves across endless waves as the entire world becomes a vast ocean of rising water. Giant waves rise and fall like mountains, shaking the vessel but never breaking it. Inside the ark, believers experience a strange mix of fear and relief, knowing they are safe yet still surrounded by a storm that seems never ending. As the journey continues, emotions run deep among those on board. Some feel gratitude for being saved, while others quietly reflect on those who refused to believe until it was too late. The reality of loss becomes heavier as they realize that outside the ark, everything they once knew has been completely overtaken by the flood. One of the most painful moments in this journey is the story of Nuh and his son. In a heartbreaking turn, his son refuses to accept the truth and is left behind despite the call to join. This moment shows that even close family bonds cannot replace the choice between belief and rejection, and it adds a deep emotional weight to the journey across the waters. After what feels like an endless journey across the vast waters, the time finally comes when the flood begins to slow. The rain stops, the raging waves calm down, and the world slowly starts to regain its balance. The ark, which once carried fear and uncertainty, now moves toward a peaceful stillness as the divine command reaches its completion. As the waters begin to recede, the survivors wait with hope and cautious relief. Then finally, the ark comes to rest on stable ground, marking the end of one of the greatest trials in human history. The believers step out carefully, realizing that the world they once knew has been completely transformed by what has taken place. What they find outside is a new beginning. Silence replaces chaos, and gratitude fills their hearts for the mercy they have witnessed. It is not just the end of a disaster, but the start of a renewed chapter for humanity, where reflection becomes more important than memory, and faith becomes the foundation of rebuilding life again. The story of Nuh and the Ark is not just about survival, it is about understanding how faith works when nothing around you makes sense. The Ark represents belief before proof, patience during pressure, and trust in Allah when every visible sign seems to go against you. It teaches that truth is not always accepted early, but it is always proven in the end. During the entire journey, we see a pattern that repeats in human life. Even today, people often judge based on what they see in the moment, while ignoring what they cannot understand yet. Nuh continues his mission despite mockery and delay, showing that consistency in truth is more powerful than temporary rejection. The lesson is, clear real strength is staying firm when belief is tested. This story is a reminder for every viewer that life will also bring moments where you feel misunderstood or delayed. But just like the ark was built for a purpose, beyond sight, your struggles may also be preparing you for something greater. If this story touched you, like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more powerful Islamic stories. And now ask yourself, what would you do if your faith was tested before the result appeared?